How you all doing today? I don't know if you can hear, or behind me, it's very, very windy. It's also very, very, like the waves are like, the tide is really low here today. Normally it's higher when I normally come here, but I hope you can kind of hear it from the thing anyways, I don't know. But yeah, welcome to another video. I like to come here to kind of clear my mind and stuff like that, and kind of it helps me connect more with God. One of the things I'm now starting to do now is to deepen my faith with God as well, and it's great. You know, the journey's going great. You don't have to believe in God to enjoy stuff like this. I suggest you guys go out and explore and find a place that's quite peaceful, that's near you. Or even if you have to travel a little bit, why not do it like once a week, you know, and then contemplate, spend time with yourself, really try to understand yourself, because we're all not perfect, none of us are perfect, but we should try to strive to essentially become better in the ways that we can, and also, you know, to bring about better change for us so we can give that change to others as well, like around you and things like that, like good communication, maybe like love around yourself and things like that. So I think we all deserve to feel worthy of great things in life. I think for the times we don't, they tend to be self-sabotaging, which isn't a very, very good thing. So yeah, just be like a little bit mindful of that as well. So yeah, that's just pretty much one of those things.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good, man, you're good. Which brings me to today's topic, which is basically about overthinking. Overthinking is something that can really, really ruin us, and it's something that is like super, super dangerous as well. I think it's honestly one of the worst things that can come about of modern times, and it's something that is very, very it's a big issue that we have to kind of address. So I kind of wanted to start off with something that I wrote in my notes, which is, for the man or woman who doesn't believe in their ability within nature will always cease to repeat cycles, whether in their mind or for how others treat them. And so we're basically born imperfect, but it is this imperfection that makes us special and gives us purpose to push to become a little bit more perfect. So pretty much, I'm not perfect, you're not perfect, nobody is, and yet we still expect perfection out of one another, possibly out of being insecure, possibly because of the standards that social media has set upon us to only strive for perfection, which can be a good thing, because again, it makes us realize that like we should set the bar higher for everyone else, and even including ourselves. But sometimes it comes to a point where we actually need to like start to figure out how to do that rather than just be that, you know. So I guess that's what community is for, and that's what us as humans should try to help be like to one another, to be able to uplift each other and teach each other and share each other's experiences, so that we can all grow in wisdom and then basically make a better world and treat our partners and family with better respect and love, pretty much, you know. So just pretty nice things, right? The style of dream life that we'd imagine to have. And so social media is something that really makes it hard to discern information and filter out thoughts and opinions compared to our own. And the kind of lack of exposure to being able to filter out information and discern it and actually try to think about what you're watching rather than just scroll, being mindless, it kind of makes us so used to being overstimulated. And as a result of this, because anytime you're off social media, your brain's going to pretty much panic and then overthink as a result of this, which then basically leads to like your brain overfiring for no reason. Like you could be sitting here and you could be absolutely having your energy completely drained because you're so worried and you're so like you're just stuck in the cycles of overthinking, and then in turn it basically leads to a life of suffering, because once you get stuck in this cycle, you're just going to be overthinking on autopilot. Like whether you're on social media or not, you're going to overthink, and then you kind of distract yourself with social media, and then it fills in your head with a lot of negative noise that you use to distract yourself from the negative noise in your head, and then it basically becomes a thing of like when you get off of it, it's the same thing. So that's where overthinking can really, really play a big part in like just ruining you, and I don't think people realize that enough. And I guess, to be honest, it probably used to be a superpower back like in the survival time days, because, you know, if you had to overthink in order to survive and things like that, otherwise you'd probably be killed or eaten as prey and things like that, like in a very survivalistic world. But obviously in the modern day times we don't have it as much. Of course there's still parts of the world that are suffering, and I do hope that, you know, peace and love really does help fix these wars and things like that. But for the most part, some places, especially where internet is widely accessible, overthinking can essentially become a pretty big hindrance to day-to-day lives. And I think it's not just because of social media, but also the transition of growth in society. Like, we went from the industrial age to where we are now in the span of, I believe it's like 200 years. And if you count 200 years before that, life was a lot more, not primitive, but it was a lot more basic, where overthinking probably still was a thing to some extent, but not to the point where it's like super like intrusive and it kind of just ruins your life all the time. So it's a double-edged sword. It can be a good thing, but it can also be a pretty bad thing as of now. And also, because of our hyper productive society now, the overthinking has probably leached into not just work, because everyone, is thinking about how they can make more money and things like that and be more productive and not waste their time, and time is limited, and so it creates a lot of overthinking for a lot of people. So it didn't used to be like that, I don't think, because people used to, of course they had more time to do things, but also their expectations weren't like crazy high. So again, it's a bit of a double-edged sword here. But because we're so hyperproductive, that overthinking that you have probably leaches out into other areas outside of work. So despite work and society from the industrial age, for example, progressing to where we are now, the side effects of it in terms of overthinking and stuff like that has probably leached into other areas of our life. And so this will have us second guessing our family, friends, and the people around us, including our own self-worth. Like, sometimes we feel pretty useless because our self-worth is tied to a check, or it's tied to how productive you are and what you can essentially accomplish, rather than just living sometimes, And I'm not saying that to be lazy, but sometimes you need to rest in order to essentially become better. How can you create without having some kind of rest involved with it? The best solutions has come to those who also have waited. So rest is important, just as productivity is. And even then, overthinking, like, you're not actually doing anything apart from overthinking. You're not taking action based on it. If anything, it's taking away your energy, your sacred energy, I must say. But I will say one thing though, it's not something to be feared, because it can be used for good in your life. It just takes a lot of inner work and inner dialogue to really kind of make yourself identify as yourself to be positive. So again, we have all these imaginary thoughts from overthinking that may not even exist, thinking about the future, the past, maybe even about the present. But what actually exists right now? What is grounded in actual reality that you can see around yourself? Not those thoughts, right? So if we can think about them in a negative manner, why not think of them in a positive manner? It's very, very wishful thinking, but it's something that I think we should try to strive towards, or at least think about, because those negative thoughts are going to pretty much bring you down and then take you down a really bad spiral. And it's like, if we can use our imagination to create those negative thoughts, we could probably also do the same for the positive ones as well. So it's like pretty much being able to filter out what your subconscious is telling you, or if you're someone of religion, what the devil is telling you, and to be able to essentially think more purer thoughts that are more aligned with God or your higher self, or something that is much more positive. So when you do find yourself in these kind of cycles, try to think about it as much as possible. It's going to be a really, really hard task, but I want you to try and think of one thing that you can do to be as aware as you can be, to kind of realize what's happening in the now versus those pesky thoughts. And obviously in those moments when you might be worried or panicky or whatever it might be, where you're overthinking too much, try to focus on one thing that is grounded right now. What is actually happening right now, and what is in your control versus out of your control? Because a lot of times we kind of try to focus on the things that like are out of our control. We can't do anything about it. And so because our brains are so used to being stimulated and overstimulated from social media and life generally, it kind of doesn't want to rest. So it will just make up random stuff that's just not real. So your brain's kind of like an AI generator of just random thoughts. And obviously because we've kind of taught it to be like that. So if we can do that, we can also undo that, and then essentially bring a better kind of thought process about it. So how do we do that? And again, I think one of the ways is definitely trying to like get into the habit of realizing what's in front of you right now today. So again, if I'm overthinking about money, for example, I can just be like, okay, cool, what is in my control right now that I can do right now in this current moment? And then you can take grounded steps, grounded actions and things like that. Also, planning is really, really important. If you're someone who overthinks a lot, if you have a concrete plan and it goes towards plan, you can't fail in a sense, right? Because you're following a set direction rather than just kind of going your own way and thinking it randomly and taking it as it goes along. Because when you're planning things, it's more of a thing of like there's structure. And even if you have a bad day, you can be like, oh, that's fine. I can have a bad day or a bad week. As long as I'm kind of sticking to the structure of the plan, I know where I need to go to. And having a plan is a very, very tangible process of doing this. So it's like, if you're someone who, I don't know, you want to attract love in your life, maybe start to have a plan of how can you love yourself more. For example, you can take yourself to the gym, you can treat yourself with respect, you can, take yourself out to places, or you can treat others kindly, and so on, things like that. Just planning or whatever it is, to try to be as true to what actually exists right now and where you want to go to. But the key is to never let those thoughts win. And your thought process is kind of like a muscle in a sense. So the more that you do have these negative thoughts and these overstimulated thoughts, the more you kind of feed this monster that exists inside of you. Whereas if you can try to make as much conscious decision to stop it, it kind of starves the beast inside of you, and then you can start to kind of feed this new, very, very happy, nice thing in your mind, where you can start to be like, oh yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'm a cool person. I deserve this, I deserve that, and you start to realize after a while, because you're kind of changing the way that you see yourself, because a lot of us, we see ourselves way worse than we actually are. It's one thing I've started to realize recently, is that we're very, very harsh on ourselves. I don't know, it could be a me thing, but I have been pretty harsh on myself quite a lot of times, which isn't exactly a good thing. So realizing like just who you are and the kind of person you're striving to be can essentially make yourself treat yourself better and other people better as a result of that. So yeah, in summary, please don't let the bad thoughts win. Always remember you are way more deserving of anything that you want. You just have to kind of force yourself to see it in a way. Okay, so what you can take from this video is just, whenever those pesky thoughts come, just remember you're here in the right now. What can you do? And is this path leading me to a better version of myself? Is this thought leading me to a better version of myself, or is it leading me to a worse version of myself? It can be just one thought. If you do that, it can start a massive trajectory. So whatever it is, I'm proud of you guys, and I hope you guys stay well. It's freezing. I apologize, I'm very cold, so I can't really think too well. Anyway, peace and blessings be to you all. I'll see you in the next one.